You look around today and it's like we've forgotten how to be human. We've got teenage boys being told they're disordered because they can't sit still for 6 hours under fluorescent lights. We've got men in their 20s thinking they're broken because they feel anxious, flat, and foggy, but they haven't moved their body in days. They're living off Uber Eats and their phone is the first and last thing that they touch every day. Man, that's not a disorder. That's your body screaming for help. We've pathologized what was primal. We medicated what was a message, and now we wonder why our boys are lost. Instead of teaching them to listen to their body, to sweat, to move, to challenge themselves, we handed them a label and a script and said, this will fix you. But what if they were never broken? What if all those feelings, the restlessness, the irritability, the low mood, the racing thoughts, what if that was the body just saying, oi, I need something different? And instead of hearing it, we shut it up. That's the disconnect. Let's be honest, we set boys up to fail. You take a young kid full of energy, wildness, testosterone starting to surge, and you stick him in a chair for 8 hours, tell him to behave, be quiet, don't fidget, don't move, don't feel too much, don't be too much. And when he can't do it, because he's not meant to, we call it a disorder. We feed him sugar for breakfast and keep him inside all day, reward obedience, punish curiosity, then wonder why he's melting down by the afternoon. And by the time he's 12, he's already internalized it. Something must be wrong with me. But there's nothing wrong with him. His biology is just completely out of sync with how he's being forced to live. His nervous system's on edge because it's never been taught to regulate. His hormones are chaotic because he's never been taught how to channel them. And his emotions are bottled up because no one ever modeled how to feel them without shame. So he grows into a man who doesn't trust his own instincts, who thinks every uncomfortable sensation must mean he's sick. He lives in his head, disconnected from the wisdom of his body. And it's not his fault. It's just the system never gave him a fighting chance. Look, I'm not saying that mental illness isn't real. I've lived through dark shit. I've worked with men who've hit rock bottom. But I am saying this. We've started calling everything mental illness. And that's dangerous. Because if your body is dysregulated, if you're not sleeping, not training, if you're living on dopamine hits, numbing your feelings and carrying unspoken grief or just stuck in survival mode, yeah, you're gonna feel anxious. You're gonna feel low. You're gonna feel foggy, flat, like life's got no edge. But that doesn't mean you're broken. It means your system's overwhelmed. And instead of helping men regulate their body to get stronger, feel grounded, eat real food, set boundaries, face the stuff they're running from, we hand them a pill and tell them it's their brain chemistry. And then what happens? Well, they start believing the problem is them. Their identity gets tied to a diagnosis. They stop trusting their gut. They start outsourcing all of their power. That fire they once had, even if it was wild, even if it needed guidance, it gets sedated. And then we wonder why men are passive and directionless and empty. It's not because they're weak, it's because we robbed them of the tools to shape them into men. What boys need isn't more labels. What they need is a rite of passage, something to take that wild energy and point it somewhere. Something to say, you're not crazy, you're becoming. You're becoming a man. They need to move their bodies, they push themselves physically, feel what it means to be strong, not just in the gym, but in life. Strong enough to face hard truths, feel deep emotions, and hold their ground without blowing up or shutting down. They need mentors. Not perfect ones, not just teachers or therapists, but men who've walked through fire and come out clearer. Men who can say, I see you, I've been there, let's go. They need challenge and purpose and brotherhood. They need to get off the screens and back into their body. They need to know what they're feeling isn't something to be fixed. It's something to be understood and felt and moved through. And most of all, they need to know they're not broken. That those moments of anger, frustration, sadness, chaos, they're not flaws, they're calls to grow. But if no one teaches them how to answer that call, they'll either implode or just stay numb forever. This isn't about blaming the system or our parents or even society. It's about choosing what kind of man you want to be now. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. You can't go back to thinking you're broken. You realize you're just being disconnected from what makes you feel alive. So the question is, are you ready to come back to yourself? Are you willing? Back to the body, back to discipline, back to truth, challenge, and ownership? Back to the version of you that existed before the world told you to sit still and shut up. You don't need to be medicated into compliance. You need to reconnect with your fire, the part of you that knows you're here to lead, to build, to protect, to serve something bigger than yourself. The antidote? It's movement, integrity, embodiment, brotherhood, meaning, mission. Because when a man has those, anxiety doesn't run his life, shame doesn't eat him alive, and depression doesn't define his identity. He becomes solid, directed, dangerous in the best kind of way, not just for himself, but for his sons, for his partner, for the world that's starving for real masculine leadership again. So it starts with you, and it starts now. See you tomorrow.